Nobody's grumbling. Everybody's been going out of their way to try and be as hospitable to us and helpful, and everybody has taken all the little shortcomings, the things that we take for granted at home. They're just a new experience, and everybody's putting it down to that. It's really tremendous.
Did you enjoy the concert? Did you?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy the concert?
I like very much the violins.
Did you enjoy the concert?
Yes, we did, very much.
Very much?
Yes.
Have you heard Irish music before?
Yes, I love it.
If anybody tried to invent the type of reception we feel we've got here and we know we've got, it wouldn't be believed. It's beyond belief. It's amazing.
How are you doing, Tom? Hello, how are you doing? Nice to meet you, Omar. Tom, I'm Robin.
With the indomitable courage of the Irish, I go out and I still will have a go at doing a step.
And do you do any illegal distilling?
Illegal.
Something like patin, you call it.
Yes, that's right.
That's fantastic.
Well, yet another late night last night. In fact, some of the more energetic members of the party didn't get to sleep at all. However, all that's behind us. We're now leaving the island of Sarima and we're heading to the second largest island called Hiiumaa. At the moment we're on a little island called Muhu, and we've stopped off in what could only be described, I suppose, as their equivalent of our Ulster Folk Museum. And believe you me, some of the party are less than enthusiastic. What did they say about the pipes? Do they like the sound?
They love them, they're fascinated. I've drawn full diagrams of the pipes about 3 times, taking about an hour each time to go through the whole lot and showing how the reeds are made and all. And they're fascinated, they're just watching it all the time.
That's a nice little old man I went.
Are you pleased with our group of musicians that have come over?
Oh, it's great, and they are very good musicians and very fine people. I'm very glad.
Do you want to have a go? Do you want to try it?
Yes.
Let's sit down.
The audience and the musicians, they were like, one, people don't feel awkward here.
It is like a dream for us.
I hope that you can return to us next year. Once a year, it's a must.
Both Estonians and Irish people are rather small nations, and in some cases I'm sure that small nations have some identical feelings about nature, about music, about everything that can be called culture.
A glass nest of Guinness, I should have given you. A glass nest of Guinness. Thomas Striker, here we come.
Well, a glass nest of Guinness, and indeed I'm sure we'll have a glass nest or Guinness or two tonight. We had a hoolie in Estonia at the end of the summer, and believe you me, hopefully we're going to have another hoolie in the studio tonight. Let me turn though to Tommy Fagan. Tommy Fagan works with Corporation North. Tommy, I think it's interesting to tell us the story of how it all came about.
Well, it indeed is a very remarkable story, because in May of this year, and it's as recent as that, I was a delegate at a conference in Dromoland Castle. And as all conferences go, the theme was telecommunications as a means towards peace. And as all conferences go, in the wee hours of the morning, about 2 or 3 o'clock, I happened to be sipping some of the beverages and hanging on to the end of a tin whistle when a gentleman called Caliateno arrived in. And now my whistle playing isn't remarkable by any standard, but he seemed to be taken by it, and that led us into a discussion into the works of Corporation North and the people-to-people diplomacy that Corporation North employs. Now, it so happened that Calais was in Ireland as a representative of the Estonian government to try and look for economic, cultural and social links, and he and I both agreed that night that music and culture would form the basis to establish links between Estonia and the rest of the Soviet Union and Ireland, and really it emerged out of that happening.
So from last May, not only was this not known before, but we've now been in Estonia. The Estonians are back here, currently touring Ireland. Glasnost seems to be working, or our understanding of Glasnost anyway.
I think it is. It was quite remarkable that the initial meeting between Kelly and myself took place in May, and ironically it happened to be the same weekend that Reagan and Gorbachev had their summit. Now, I wouldn't propose to say that our meeting was more important, but certainly the benefits and the effects are very tangible and very evident on the ground.
Right, I've been saying that it's been unique and historic. Just how unique was that visit?
Well, I think you'll gather from the Irish musicians here in the course of the evening that a lot of them who are seasoned players who've been all over the world playing to large audiences found that the impact that we had and the experiences that we felt were quite unique. There was something happened in Estonia. It's still, many months later, indescribable. Something happened there. There was a gel between the people, not just between the musicians, although that was the important first initial point of contact, but something broader has happened. And from that, not just this cultural experience now, but the whole trip has broadened beyond that. It really is quite a phenomenal experience.
I concur with that totally. Of course, Cooperation North was one of the organisations that helped get it there. The other gentleman, I couldn't find you there, Roy. Can I sit down beside you? This is Ray Joyce. Now, Ray, you work with
the Centre for International Cooperation at Shannon.
Now, tell me how you got involved in this, because it's more your ball game, I think, than Cooperation North. Would I be right?
Well, we are, to some extent, the international expression of Cooperation North, because as you know, Brendan O'Regan, who founded Cooperation North, believed that the philosophy of non-violent solutions to political differences was the correct one, and that perhaps the best way to pursue this was through cooperation, efficiently managed, in a variety of programs which would bring people of one country to meet the people of another country, thereby breaking down the prejudices and so on that exist.
Okay. I want to talk more to you, Ray. Thanks for the moment. Thank you very much indeed. But at this moment in time now, I think because it's all been fun and it's all been great happiness in Estonia, we want the same to happen here tonight. So we're going to get a little bit of Estonian music now. And can I introduce you to a fourth-piece band, all smiling at this moment in time, and they go under the name of, and I hope I get it right, Kukerpilads.
Se tee oli kitsas kiivinen, käib üle maja katuste. Me noored on vankri ees ja süda krippeldamas sees. Me kihutame ka lustlikult, siin kui seal pole nustatud. Kas tahad tulla minuga koos ilma mööda rändama? Üks vana tuvi aur on, sel puhul üpris paslik on. Me tähkides veab rauast luu ja hinge õhtal tuulikuud. Me kihutame ka lustlikult, siin kui seal pool mustatud. Kas olgu vanker siis või on, või jalgsi veelgi parem on. Nii üle maja katuste ja mägede ja orgude. Me kihutame lustlikult ja siin kui seal pole nustatud. Tiit oli tillitipsike, piisimuud nutsike. Tiit oli tillitipsike, piisimuud nutsike. Tiitaga tantsis tiipsa taapsa kõrgasesti. Tiitaga tantsis tiipsa taapsa kõrgasesti. Jalga käis nii kõrgesse, et astus kirbule kuklasse. Jalga käis nii kõrgesse, et astus kirbule kuklasse. Kirbul pärani jäi suu, murdunud oli kaelanu. Kirbul pärani jäi suu, murdunud oli kaelanu.
tahtis tikku viinapoue, viinasruuni süüle õue, tahtis tikku viinapoue, viinaruusikaga lõi, siis tema vääris surnuks. Viinaruusikaga lõi, siis tema vääris surnuks jäi. Poisid, võtke nahkal maha, selle ees saab palju raha. Poisid, võtke nahkal maha, selle ees saab palju raha. Kingseb naha omal saab, sellest reinul saab. Kingseb naha omal saab, sellest reinul saab.
Thank you very much indeed and welcome back. Now, during the break, I was reminded of the fact that the first ever live link-up between Belfast and Tallinn, which is the capital of Estonia, came from this very studio in a programme called The Time and the Place. So history is repeating itself. But I did also say earlier that we had a few hiccups today in getting the Estonians up here. We've had everybody in the entire world, I think, helping us to get this thing onto time. And one man in particular who was responsible for a lot of the work was Winston McColgan from Cooperation North. Winston, they were just hiccups, weren't they?
Just hiccups. I think we have to remember that this whole perestroika thing is quite new and still a wee bit experimental, and you expect problems. It's the first time that any Estonian group like this has come out of Estonia and come to Ireland. You couldn't expect it to go like clockwork.
Absolutely not. Now, Cooperation North, you're not known for this type of work. Why are you involved?
Because we were asked to. The fact that the Estonians met people from both sides of the border here on the trip before meant that they wanted to see both sides of the border and continue that contact and that friendship. So we got involved in that.
Of course you would. You see, you're busy people. Winston, thank you very much indeed. One person, a very special guest of ours tonight, is the leader of the Estonian group, and in fact he is the Minister of Culture for Estonia. Mr. Karma, you're very, very welcome. May I ask you through our interpreter, Shiliko, what impact does the Minister feel the Irish group made on the culture of Estonia when we visited there during the summer?
Missuguse mõju avaldas Iiri grupp, kui ta külastas Eestit suvel?
See mõju oli väga efektne. Kõigepealt oli see väga tõsine konkurents meie rahva muusikutele.
This impact was very effective because they had a kind of concurrence for our folk musicians.
And are the Estonians enjoying their visit to Ireland so far?
Kas siiamaani eestlastel väga meeldib siin olla?
Ja eks teie muusikute esinemine Eestimaal tõigi meid siia. Siin on olnud meil kah praegu väga tore ja efektne ning põhiline nähtavasti see, et teie muusikute esinemine Eestimaal näib saavat Eesti ja Iirimaa kultuurisuhete edasiseks arengualuseks.
Of course, just our musicians are here on a return visit. And this is a very important thing, and we think that this is a kind of thing that will be going on further.
Well, I certainly hope so. Mr. Karma, you're very welcome to Ireland and indeed to Northern Ireland. Thank you very much indeed. Now, for a bit more music, because we're going to have a little bit of Irish music this time. We have a beautiful girl singer who was out in Estonia with us. She's here tonight. Her name is Ethna Houlihan, and she's going to sing a beautiful song called The Flower of Maharali.
One pleasant summer's morning, when all the flowers were blooming, oh, nature was adorning, and the wee birds sweetly singing, oh. I met my love near Banbridge town, my charming blue-eyed Sally, oh. Oh, she's the queen of the county down, and the flower of Maharali, oh. With admiration I did gaze all on this blue-eyed maiden, oh. Adam wasn't half so pleased when he met Eve in Eden, oh. Her skin was like the lily white that blooms in yonder valley, oh. Oh, she's my queen, and my heart's delight. She's the flower of Maharali, oh. Her yellow hair in ringlets hung, her scarlet cap and feather, oh. Her bonnet with blue ribbons hung, her shoes were Spanish leather, oh. Like Venus bright she did appear, my charming blue-eyed Sally, oh. Oh, she's my queen and my heart's delight. She's the flower of Maharali, oh. I hope the day will surely come when we'll join hands together, oh, and I will wed the one I love in spite of wind and weather, oh. And let them all say what they will, and let them reel or rally, oh. For I will wed the girl I love. She's the flower of Maharali, oh.
Ethna, that was absolutely wonderful, Ethna. And indeed, from the expressions on the faces of the Estonians, no translations needed whatsoever. I have now a gentleman called Jan Kapinski. I've got that right, Jan, haven't I? I have pronounced it right, have I?
Yes, yes, certainly.
Jan, you are a writer in Estonia and a poet. Perhaps you can tell me a little bit about how Estonians feel about this glasnost, because we hear a lot of it in Ireland and in this part of the world. What does it actually mean to you living in Estonia and to the people there?
Just now I can say that the fact that we are here is a result of this glasnost. The fact that we can sing our songs and write our poems and articles both here and in Estonia is also a result of it, so it means very much to us.
Was this something that you could not do years ago?
Oh yes, I was unable to visit Ireland or visit any Western country at all until this glasnost era.
Why should that have been?
I do not know. I do not know what happened in the depth of bureaucracy then.
You have a great love for Ireland and its people and its culture. Now
Yes.
that you're here, what are your impressions?
My impressions are yet too confused, and I cannot resume them in any meaningful way. But I have the very ambitious intention to write a little book about Ireland.
Well, I look forward to that. Can you have a quick look at the books that you have written? These have been translated into English.
Yes, I have two books with me that have been translated into English, two books of poetry. One of them is called The Same Sea in Us All. Perhaps that has some meaning in this situation this evening. And another is called The Wandering Border. Perhaps even that phrase has some meaning both for Estonians and for Irishmen.
Yes, yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? Jan, thanks very much indeed. I want to get into more music because we have a lot of things happening today, and I want to go back now and give the Estonians another go. And a gentleman who is sitting with an accordion, resplendent in his Estonian national costume. He's going to play the accordion, as I say, and he's going to be joined by two girls equally beautifully as dressed in their national costume. So would you please welcome Ants? I love it. Isn't that great? Christine, that was superb, absolutely superb. That was, what kind of a dance was it?
This dance is called Rhinelander. And
Rhinelander.
It's very popular in Estonia.
And very old, is it?
Yes, it is.
As old as these magnificent costumes, would you say?
Maybe not.
This is the national costume, is it, of Estonia?
Yes, it is.
Dating back to when, would you say?
Well, my costume comes from northern Estonia, and it was worn in the end of the 18th century and at the beginning of the 19th century, this type of costume.
And the lady beside you?
Oja's costume is from Western Estonia, and this costume was worn in the 19th century.
Beautiful. And what about dance?
His costume comes from southern Estonia, and it was worn in the 19th century.
And you all wear them with great pride?
Yes, we do.
Indeed
really.
you do. Give us a twirl. Whee! Lovely, isn't it? Thank you very much indeed. Do take a seat. Yes! Now, I'm getting carried away by talking to all the Estonians. We haven't spoken to very many Irish people yet. I'm still not going to, because I'm going to ask one of our number, who comes from a little place called Fork Hill. Stand up, Brian. Come down here. Would you please give us a song? So, ladies and gentlemen, would you welcome one of the lads on the tour, Brian Murphy.
Oh, Curtin, it's a pleasure between my love and I, and it's down in yonder valley I would meet her by and by. And it's down in yonder valley she is my heart's delight. And it's with you, lovely Molly, I would stay till the broad daylight. While going to Mass last Sunday, my love, she passed me by. I knew her mind was altered by the roving of her eye. I knew her mind was altered by a lad of high degree. And it's Molly, lovely Molly, your looks have wounded me. I then produced a bottle and I held it in my hand, saying, Molly, lovely Molly, a courtship it's at an end. So raise your glass, dear Molly, keep the bottom dry to me. For there's 10 guineas wager to me that married ne'er shall we be. So fare thee well temporarily, likewise farewell me, O too. And 1,000 times, dear Molly, and no matter where I go, America lies far away across the ocean blue. And I'm bound for there, dear Molly, and again shall ne'er see you. General.
Hey! That was Brian Murphy. Well done, Brian. Safe journey home to Fork Hill tonight, Brian. Indeed I am. Brian, as you know, comes from Fork Hill in Northern Ireland, but the group that went out to Estonia, of course, the Irish group that went out, came from all over Ireland, and one of the guys who travelled, well, further than most was Brendan Begley. Hello, Brendan.
How you doing?
Nice to see you up in the north.
Nice, thank you.
What part of Kerry were you from, or are you from?
West Kerry, west of Dingle.
Now, are you living down there?
No, I'm teaching in Dublin.
In Dublin?
Yeah.
So, tell me, Brendan, now, what reaction, now that we're back home after a couple of months, what reaction have you got from that visit to Estonia? It was something very special.
Yeah, well, I've been out of Ireland a good few times now, and I've visited different countries. But my trip to Estonia, anyway, was the highlight for me of my musical career. To be honest with you, I've never experienced what we experienced the whole lot of us there in Estonia. you'd play in front of crowds, whether there were hundreds. In fact, there was a couple of thousand at one, like. And after playing, you'd feel that you hadn't given them enough, because the reaction was just something else from them. That there was kind of electric or magic coming back from them, as if they'd been waiting for it, and as if they had heard their own music.
In fact, someone did say that, didn't they? That it felt as if they've been waiting on the Irish all their lives.
Yeah, some of them had been saying that. They were saying, there was one girl, and she's here now, May, she's over there. She told me one night that she had she felt she was dreaming, and she said that she had a dream one night that the angels gathered around a stone.
Hey, don't spoil that. Don't spoil that story, because I'm going to get that story. I'm going to get that story later. Keep your mouth shut. Brendan, it's very good to see you up here. We had another surprise, and I was told just before we went on air today that there is an Estonian lady who's now living in Northern Ireland, and she's here. You're very welcome. This is a surprise. What part of Estonia did you come from originally?
I came from Pärnumaa, that is in the middle of Estonia, or south of Estonia, more or less.
And what brought you to Northern Ireland?
Well, after the war, we came to England, and we did here. My husband did here. We weren't married that time. Ireland has a whole lot of milk and honey. In England was in rations. So he loved his milk, and he got a good job in Dixon's nursery as a manager. And then after 2 years being alone, he got tired of it. He said, will you marry me? So he married in Estonian church in London.
What year did you come here?
1950. We married in 1950.
So you've been here all that time?
Yes.
It must be nice to see a few
Ireland
Estonians.
is my country.
There you are.
I love Ireland.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Ireland is now her country. What about that?
I love Ireland.
Isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? Right, we're now going to take up a little bit more music, and we're still going to stay with the Irish theme this time. This time, one of the big successes when we were in Estonia, where 6 of the group got together and they played a lot of Estonian songs. They went down tremendously all over Estonia. We're going to reunite them tonight. They're not going to play any Estonian songs, but they're going to play 3 reels. They don't have a name, but do give them a big round of applause anyway. rhyme or have you not got a name? I think it's about time you six got together and got yourselves a name.
I don't know.
I think you're brilliant. Let me turn to some other people that were on that trip from Ireland. Desi Wilkinson, of course, Desi, well-known flautist with Cran. Desi, your impressions, because I remember you and I standing in Red Square in Moscow, in fact, before we headed up to Estonia. Well, what were your feelings as you stood there in the middle of the USSR?
Well, I was feeling great because I was in the middle of the USSR. Many others who would have liked to have been there weren't there.
Yes.
And, well, my impressions were that I was quite pleased to see the sort of calm, sort of no advertising bit, you know. It sort of made me feel a bit sort of calm.
On the shop fronts?
Yeah.
Yes, there was.
I'm not saying that, I mean, my first impressions were that I would miss it. I missed all this advertising thing, but then I didn't actually really miss it.
Jerry McCartney, banjo player extraordinaire. What about all the queues, Jerry? What about all the queues? Because no matter what we wanted, whether it was a drink of orange or an apple or an ice cream, we had to get into a queue for it.
I got into one of those queues as well, and I didn't know what I was queuing for. Would you like half a ton of vodka? But Orchid it's one of their ways of life there. We queue for everything. Nobody else in the world can understand why we queue. But it was a fantastic place. What I noticed about it, and what impressed me actually, was its cleanliness.
Yes.
The streets were magnificently clean, especially Red Square was remarkable. Tallinn was very, very clean city as well.
Tallinn was the nicest place.
Yeah.
Yes. Yo. Now, one day when we were in the university town of Tartu, we were taken out to lunch, and during lunch we were introduced to a gentleman called Arnie, and he had an instrument, a musical instrument which I'd never seen before, and on discovery we found out that it was called a cannel. Now, thank goodness Arnie's with us tonight with this fabulous musical instrument. So would you please give Arnie a big Irish welcome with Arnie. Well, according to all the musicians here, that is one very, very difficult instrument to play. Well, now we're fast running out of time, and I think it's time now for us to get to the song that Brendan Begley referred to a little earlier. It was written by one of the Estonians called Jaak Johansson, and he's in the group that's going to perform it. And it's been arranged by one of our own group here, Martin McAllister. The song is called The Dream Song, And it tells the story about a dream Jack had, and the whole area of Estonia seemed to get away from the rest of the Soviet Union. It floated out over the sea, and as it came down over Great Britain, they noticed all these Irish men and women coming over to the side and waving to them. And perhaps they were calling for the Estonians to come and join them. As I say, it's called a dream song, and I think for everyone that who was connected with this Soviet-Irish cultural exchange, it represents the fusion of the two cultures. Before we hear it, I would just like to thank all our Estonian friends, and indeed all our Irish friends who've travelled from all over Ireland to be with us tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it at home. I'll see you next week, but I'll leave you tonight with the dream song.
There was a fairy slowly coming down and saying, "Hey boys, are you ready? Hei poisid, kas olete valmis, siis lükkame korraga. Peipsi koha pealt lükkame lahti selle väikese Maarjamaa. Peipsi koha pealt lükkame lahti selle väikese Maarjamaa. Ühe tiiru ümber selle ilma nõnda viisi peaks tegema. Ja siis kas või teise ilma ühes rohu ja rahvaga. Ja siis kas või teise ilma ühes rohu ja rahvaga. Eks toetage pilgud siis vastu ja lükkame korraga. Parasjagu, et kokku ei põrkaks Soome, Rootsi vai Norraga. Parasjagu, et kokku ei põrkaks Soome, Rootsi vai Norraga.